everyone. My name is Dr. Barbara von Mettenheim, and I am sober nearly 40 years at the end of August in 2020. And I would just like to talk to you a little bit about my story and what happened to me, what happened for me, and then what it was like afterward. So I was born into an alcoholic family, and I'm talking about generational alcoholism. My parents, my grandparents, their parents, it probably goes back many generations in my family that we were alcoholic. So it compounded, and when I was born, I was born into alcoholism. So the environment for alcoholism was already there for me. And then there was probably some physical or genetic predisposition to it. And so I became an alcoholic at a very young age. I was sipping drinks, all through my life. But then I began to drink in earnest at 16, and I immediately hit a very steep downward slope. They were very abusive people. They were ignorant people. No one had an education. My parents did manage to graduate from high school, which in the 40s wasn't, a bad thing. You got a pretty good education in the 40s out of high school. But they were not intelligent people. And they told me I was stupid, and they told me I would never succeed. And I believed them because they told that to me from the time I was born until the time I finally woke up and said, I can't do this anymore. In the meantime, I ended up leaving home. I badgered my boyfriend into marrying me right out of high school because my mother told me if I wouldn't get out of her house until I got married. So I did, and I got out of her house, and then I left that relationship after my dad tried to strangle me one night, and my mother and husband didn't do anything to help. So I just was in a very bad situation, and I left knowing that if I stayed, eventually somebody was going to kill me. So I ended up traveling around the country, living in, an RV. Back in the day, it was called a VW bus, and then I lived in various closets and warehouses. I never had a fixed address. I was never living in a home like a normal person. It was very frightening, and I was lucky that I didn't end up in bigger cities, or I would have been in real serious trouble. So when I was about 30 years old, I finally decided I had had enough. I couldn't stand this anymore, and I made a decision that I wasn't going to do that anymore. Within about 3 months, this family came along and helped me, took me off the streets, let me live with them. I couldn't stay there. I stayed there about a year, and then I moved on. But then I got into school. I had this very mystical experience it was actually an audio hallucination, and I thought God was telling me to go to school. So I did get into school, and that helped me. And when I graduated from college, I got into a master's program at Dartmouth, and that was where I finally hit bottom, and I went to a 12-step program to stop drinking. That was the best thing I ever could have done. So I managed to stay alive long enough to get there and to stop drinking, and that's when my life really began. And I don't think you have to go as low as I did in order to get well. I think I didn't really have a shot because I had been abused from such a young age. I was nearly 4 years sober and had a baby at 34 when I realized I'd been abused and that I didn't deserve the treatment that I got. So it was a very long road for me. But I'm happy to say that today I am sober. I have a great life. If it could happen for me, it can happen to you. It just starts with a decision to just not want to live that way anymore. And once I made that decision, God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, set events in motion that eventually brought me around to being able to give up alcohol and to choose a different life. Now, that doesn't address the post-traumatic stress I had from being abused from the beginning. And that's a whole different story, but I'll talk about that in another video. So I wish you all the best. It doesn't have to get as bad for you as it was for me, but I had to go through everything I went through in order to break the generational curse of alcoholism and abuse in my family. So thank you for listening. Please join me again. I'll have more videos, and thank you for being there.